Hi friends. If you click to check out Pat McGrath's Golden Opulence, then please keep on watching. Hi, my name is Alicia. If it's your first time here, thank you so much for clicking on my video. Kinky Sweat stands for my kinky hair and sweat life. I'm a fitness professional who loves things all movement and beauty. If you want to check out what I do in between the makeups, you can head over to my Instagram. There's a story, there are timestamps down below. Go to whatever portion of the video you want to see. Okay, my girl Pam Instagram messaged me to tell me, hey, when you Google Pat McGrath Star Wars and the Selfridges link comes up, this palette shows up. But if you try to look for this palette, which is called Golden Opulence, on the actual Selfridges search engine, you can't find it anywhere. You can only find this palette when you search for Pat McGrath Star Wars via Google. But here's the kicker. The link that shows up says Mothership Decadence 4. This is clearly not Decadence. Even on my receipt, my delivery updates, it says Star Wars Decadence 4. Now, of course, by the time I was editing this video, news came out all over Instagram that Golden Opulence was arriving soon. Don't know when, maybe by this time I upload this video, we'll get a date. But yeah, don't even know if I'm supposed to be reviewing this palette, but here we are. Thank you, Pam, for letting me know this palette existed, and I just thought I would come on here and swatch it for you guys and maybe do some looks. I have it on today, and I will quickly show you what the inside looks like. To my knowledge, as best as I can, because I think I know of all of Pat's shadows, her motherships and her singles, these shades are all new, to my belief. I could be wrong. I am very susceptible to human error, even when it comes to Pat. But we'll swatch all these colors. We'll do some comparisons as best as I can. I am assuming, based on the design of this palette, this is considered a holiday palette. This is very different usually from her other designs. This was last year's palette design. This is Bronze Temptation. So last year's holiday collection was very much off the theme of decadence. You see, you have the crown jewel designs in different colors for the 3 6-pan palettes, and for her original smaller motherships, you have a downsized version of the bigger illustration that exists on the original big 10-pan mothership design. This is the most different I've seen her 6-pan. I love it. You see, it's like a glitter, but it's not gritty. It's very smooth, but very shiny. And I love the enlarged hieroglyphic raised texture logo on the palette. And of course, it has the rubber loop around the paper circles. This actually is not my favorite packaging for Pat McGrath because the actual palette is lodged in this box. The flaps keep on collapsing onto themselves, and it makes it actually quite hard to work with this palette. Ideally, if she ever were to make a 6-pan mothership design in the black lacquer and the beveled mirror, that would be amazing. I will pay extra for that. I will pay extra for a black lacquered 6-pan palette, Pat. Do it. What do we have here? Some palette details. This was from Selfridges.com. Because this is from the UK, the conversion, or rather the price, was $54. Right now, I believe Pat's 6-pan palettes are like $65 from her site and from Sephora.com. This is made in the USA. It has a 12-month suggested shelf life from opening. Total net weight, we're looking at 12 grams or 0.42 ounces of product. Since there are 6 pans in here, that will equal to around 2 grams of product per pan. Now, what do we have here? We have these shades. Yes, we've seen these shades before, but this shade right here, it looks very basic on camera. It will look very basic in photographs, but there's something going on in this shade. I thought this was going to be gold standard, but in fact, this is called Gold Fortune. I'm going to leave wide spaces between these swatches. So this is her metallic formula that is usually found in her 6-pan palettes. beautifully smooth. Pat's metallic formula is one of my favorites in that they're incredibly smooth, but I did find that her metallic formulas that existed in her original 3 6-pan palettes were almost so creamy that they felt wet. These I feel are a little like, they're not as creamy, and I like that because I feel this will have better glide across the lid. Hello there. And it won't accentuate textured lids. So I feel because of that is a more ideal formula. Next up, we have Moon Phase. This is what I have on my eyes. Oh, it is such a beautiful, it's like a warm pink, but it has such beautiful shine and opacity. It's just a gorgeous color. And again, yes, I'm sure you've seen this color before, but I love that it's in this palette. Prosperity. It is a warm plum brown. Really smooth. I really love the shade in here. Lotus Luxe. Here is the shade, friends. This has like purple, blue specks. You will not be able to see this on camera, but it's not just this cranberry shade that you see. She has like blue purple reflex that could only be seen under a dim light or under a flashlight, which of course we're going to do the flashlight dance later after our demo. Tranquility is a peachy brown. It is so lovely. I love these tones of browns. They're not too orangey, but they're not too neutral either. It has a little bit of peachiness to it that I feel just adds beautiful dimension to the crease. Last but not least, Eternal Opulence. A frosty, like a light pink frosty shade, I think looks gorgeous on the inner corner. Now let's quickly, I know you guys want to see Gold Standard. Gold Standard is coming up in the re-release of Decadence 4 in the Star Wars packaging. But I actually have the original Decadence, which is in my drawer. Crap, I don't need you. I'm gonna dip into Gold Standard that exists in Metamorphosis from holiday 2018 last year in the pink palette. This is Gold Standard. Okay, here we go. Gold Standard has a little more yellow, whereas Gold Fortune is more of an orange gold. Does it really matter if when you see it on the lids, will you be able to decipher Gold Fortune from Gold Standard? Probably not. But if you are a color nerd like I am, I find that this is going to bring out a different color story than this tone depending on the other shades you decide to pair it with. But that's just me. Moon Phase, this beautiful pink shade, this is Rose Venus that exists as a single, and I immediately thought of this color as being very similar. Now, while I understand they look very close together, I feel that Rose Venus has a little more warmth, whereas Moon Phase is almost like a little more mauve-y. I'm splitting hairs. I understand that I am splitting hairs, but again, I do feel there is a difference. But if you feel it's not worth you buying this palette for, I get it. I totally understand. As far as another shade that I feel matches up with Moon Phase, maybe either from Divine Rose or from Sublime. Rose Dusk, but this is a completely different formula altogether. It's like more of a satin. So see how this has a little more texture, both Rose Venus and Moon Phase, and this is a lot smoother. And it has like a purple shift to it almost. So that's the only other color I could think of within her eyeshadow palette collection that comes to mind. For her holiday palette, I'm not going to go so much into her holiday palettes from last year because they're no longer available. Or if you happen to have those palettes, let me see. La Vie en Rose. What do we have from La Vie en Rose? Pale Fire, but Pale Fire is going to be more pinky in tone and not as like mauve-y rosy as those shades. Probably Rose Quartz from her Ritualistic Rose, but I much prefer the texture of Moon Phase. Which one is Moon Phase? I believe this one is Moon Phase. Moon Phase is this one. It's the more like purpley one, whereas Rose Venus has more of like a red tone to it. And this definitely has more of like a purpley mauve. Where am I going to put this? Yeah, totally different. It's a totally different shade than from Moon Phase. Up next, we have Tranquility. Now, immediately I thought about Corruption from, no, not Corruption. What am I saying? It's not Corruption. Is it Corruption? I lost the thing. Is this color here. This reminded me of, what is it called? Prosperity. I think this is going to be a little, yes, this is a little more, actually, I said plum brown, but this looks more red brown next to the one found in a Bronze Temptation. I'm also thinking about the matte that exists in Divine Rose, which takes on also like a plummy brown shade. We are looking at Extreme Mahogany from Divine Rose. See how that looks. I'm running out of space here, underestimated. That's more of a warm brown compared to Prosperity in Golden Opulence. And quite frankly, I'm not even going to bother, or I could. Extreme Aubergine is in Bronze Seduction. Probably dark from Subversive, or not dark. Is it dark or is it deep? Deep. Is deep shade. Deep shade is a lot more, oh, ow. It's a lot more smokier in tone. And of course, I totally, you know what? Forget it. Just put it here. Yeah, these are very similar. The one from Bronze Temptation is very similar to the one found in Subversive. But again, the matte still does not match up to the ones that we just swatched. Lastly, we have Midnight Sun. I think the one in here is a little more neutral in tone, if I remember correctly. Extreme Dusk is more like a gray brown. Vermilion Venom is just like a red, right? As opposed to this being more of like a brownish plummy red. And now for this shade is so gorgeous, but what can match up with it? Let's see, friends. I'm thinking maybe Copper from Metamorphosis. Oh, excuse me. Metamorphosis. Let's see what that looks like. That looks pretty similar. This has a lot more orange to it, and this stays more like almost like a pinky red, dare I say. This is a different color altogether from Bronze Temptation. It is like a duochrome, so that's a totally different color. Still one of my standout favorites. I have Crimson Fire from her singles. Right off the bat, it's going to be more red in tone. For sure. This is more of a pinky red again. But I'm sure you want to know what this can match up with. Dipping back into Bronze Temptation for sure. What is it called? I don't know where my sleeve is. This shade came to mind immediately. This is more of like a brown, whereas this I feel is more of a peachy brown. It's like more of a yellow brown. Hopping back into Midnight Sun, Taboo. Taboo could be something similar to, ooh, Taboo is like a slightly deeper version than the one in Bronze Temptation. I freaking love this shade. It's so pretty. It's so like beautifully like a true brown. Almost looks like it has some peach in there as well, don't you think? Bronze Seduction, Entrapment is going to appear a lot darker, I feel, than, I'll put it right next to, oh yeah, forget it. Nowhere close. All the other mattes from Pat are really deep, but the one from Subliminal, Mothership 1 with the blue, Ultimate Taupe, just by the name alone, we could expect it to be more taupey in color, for sure, compared to the one in Golden Opulence, please. And last but not least, we have this frosty shade, Eternal Opulence, one of the Skin Show nude shades for sure. I would think probably the one that I'm thinking about is in Midnight Sun. Skin Show Moon Glow, maybe a little more beigey. And of course, that was a dirty swatch. We're gonna do that again. Here we go. Yeah, this one's a little more pinky, I feel. whereas the one from Midnight Sun is a little more true beige. Skin Show Divine Glow from Bronze Seduction. What do we got there? You see you got a little more goldeny in hue. Skin Show Fever from Subversive. More champagne-y in tone. Eternal Opulence looks very bright, so I'm looking forward for you guys to see that in action. But let's take this eye look off, and I'll do a look on this eye, look on this eye, and we'll review our final thoughts in the end. And now that we're ready, on the lids, I have Shiseido's Liquid Concealer in 301 medium. It'll be down below. Let's start with this eye. Can I get a finally for the decent sunshine that we have now today? The clouds were aggressive on Tuesday. That was my last filming day. Today is like perfect. You were still too far. Tranquility with my Wayne number 4 from his Anniversary 2 set. I used this shade yesterday and I just love the tone of it. I did not set my concealer because these don't have, the colors themselves are not very punchy. So I feel you could get away with applying these shadows from the palette without setting your concealer. Because typically Pat's mattes go in or apply deeper than how they appear in pan. And I feel this holds the same for Tranquility, because when you see it initially, especially when you see it online, it looks ashy. It absolutely looks super ashy online. But look how peachy it looks in person, even on camera. This is my 3rd time going in. I want to deepen up the shade, and I also need to lighten you up a little bit. I think this matte blends beautifully, very smooth, easy to work with. You could very much just apply this all over your crease, lid, and lower lash line. I think it's such a beautiful one and done matte shade. Sonia G, Worker 1 with Tranquility under the lash line. Pretty. Tuckahoe B142 with Prosperity. I'm gonna tap that first and just let the tapping deposit the color on the outer V. And from there, I'll take circular motions. Because although this is not the darkest matte she has ever released, it still has some punch. You could probably use a smaller brush and build more than what I'm doing here. But I like to tap first so I can have a little more control over how the shadow blends. I'm pulling it through the crease as well as buffing out the very edges of it so it can pull out to that V point. Now you see how it's not sticking? I'm taking my Sonia G Builder 3. I'm gonna pat that matte on the outer V to kind of enrich it a little bit. Taking the very tip of the brush, very light pressure to feather out the edges of Prosperity. Back in with my Wayne number 3, further buff the edges of Tranquility. This appears a lot more neutral in person. I think the sun is pulling more of the warm tones out and it looks very warm on camera. Wayne number 6 from his Anniversary 2 with Prosperity on the outer lower third. Just making sure the two connect. Just further feathering out the edges. Lotus Luxe with my Sonia G Builder 3. This shade, I'm giving you a Pat moment, a Pat IG moment. I freaking love Lotus Luxe. It's so pretty. We're gonna give it a little spritz though. There we go. There we go. Wetting it is just going to help it spread a little bit, pull across the skin more smoothly, and also bring out the shine as well. It's full of shine potential. Same brush now with Moonface. On the lower inner corner, I freaking love Moonface. It's such a beautiful shiny pink. Just taking a brush and whisking away any of the fallout. Very little. We got some though. I'm taking my Esam S33 and I'm just smoothing this out a little more. I just want it to look a lot more seamless. I'm very picky. That's better. Wayne Goss number 5 now with Eternal Opulence. Placing that on the inner, see what I'm saying? Very brightening. And I feel the pink tone of this color is further enhanced by mixing it together with Lotus Luxe and Moonface. And that's that eye. Let's go on to this eye. Let's start with Gold Fortune. I'm just gonna pull that across the lid. Hello, you're gonna focus on me? And like I said in the swatches, I feel like this is a little more lightweight than her original 6-pan palette formula, which I kind of like because sometimes it's like a lot of texture to deal with. And this is like the perfect amount of creaminess, but impact at the same time. I mean, it looks so foiled, and this is dry, okay? Sonergy, Worker 3. With Gold Fortune along the lower lash line. I'm taking that same brush with Gold Fortune on the lid and just further refining the edges around the crease. So we could leave it as is, or we could use one of the matte shades to just buff out the edges. So let's go in with Tranquility Ism G34 brush, and with that matte shade we're just blending out the edges of Gold Fortune, and I think this is a really nice pairing. And just lightly here on the lower part of the lash line, moon phase with my finger on the inner part of the lid. I want to create like a pink to gold gradient here. I think that's really nice. Oh, got on my eyebrow. Adding a little more Gold Fortune on the outer V. Sonergy flat definer with Prosperity just on the outer part of the lash line to deepen it. Wayne pencil brush again with Eternal Opulence on the inner corner. I didn't really put anything on the inner lower third, so I'll just use Eternal Opulence for that shade. Why not put some on the arch of the brow, not only on that eye but the first eye that we did. We could highlight the brow area and not make it too prominent like I just did. Feather out the edges. All right, let's slap on some lashes and I'll be right back. Here's a close-up of the eye, friends. On the lashes I have ColourPop's falsies. These are in the style Chica, and they're a wider band, so me to have to get used to, since I've been very much accustomed to the thin band of the Ardell naked lashes. But I love the fluff, I love the length. What do you think? Here are the lids, and we can't finish this close-up without a flashlight dance. Here is how Lotus Luxe looks with the flashlight. You just see the sparkle and the dazzle. I love the twinkle of the shadow. And here is Gold Fortune. Gold Fortune is so beautifully shiny. I love the shade. And then with Moon Phase blended in the inner corner, it's just a beautiful gradient of color. Isn't it so pretty? On the lips, I applied the Makeup Forever Anywhere Caffeine Liner all over, and then I topped it off with Linda Hallberg's Fantastic and Pink Opal in the center of my lips. What do you think, friends? What do we think of this color story, the shadows, the texture? I love Golden Opulence. I think it's a great curation. My favorite is the Tranquility matte shade, just from it being unexpectedly peachy warm, just based on how you see it in photographs. It looks so cool and ashy in the photograph, and then you get it in person and apply it on your lid, and it just is a different color altogether. I find that Prosperity builds up nicely. You just have to be careful and make sure that you build it up well, because it could get a little patchy on the outer corner. It also could be that my lids were a little dry because it is very cold and my lids weren't moisturized, or just the outer corners weren't moisturized before my concealer application. And sometimes when the skin is dry and the concealer itself, it has a soft matte finish, it could unfortunately lend to a patchy blend. But I find if you pack it on, it could look smooth, and you could just take your time with it and start very small and build from there. I still think Gold Standard is beautifully shiny and creamy, but it's a little tighter in the pan, which I like. I like that. I feel you're not going to get as much fallout. It's going to be a smoother application. For those who have more mature lids and they found that Pat's metallics were a little too creamy for them, I think this formula it's just beautiful. It just has really nice smoothness to it. Lotus Luxe, same thing. It just has really nice glide. And then Moon Phase, I would say, has maybe the most texture to it, but when you smooth it out, it's fine. And of course, I would recommend that you wet them so you could get maybe a more precise application in under the crease if you like to do cut creases or what have you, or just want a cleaner metallic application line. Eternal Opulence, sure, nothing special. However, in this palette, I feel is a great inner corner highlight, brow bone highlight. Really nice to put as like a standout highlight shade to bring all the shades together. I can't get over this yellow. I think it's so pretty, and I'm happy that it's more of an orangey gold because I think it just lends to a better eye look overall with these pinkier, warmer tones than it being like a cooler yellow gold. Am I making any sense? Should you get this palette? Absolutely not. Not telling you you have to get Golden Opulence. Hi, my name is Alicia. I'm a Pat Mcgrath eyeshadow palette addict. I'm going to get all her palettes, and that's where I'm coming from. When I see something new from Pat, I'm getting it. That's it. All practical reasoning out the window. Now, I have practical reasoning for other makeup items because I have to pick my poison. I can't buy it all. So if I'm going to choose to spend my money, a lot of my money, I'm going to choose one brand or very few to do that with. And because of that, I haven't bought Scott Barnes, and I haven't bought a lot of palettes. I bought Stone Rose because that was a collaboration with my girl Mona, but I think I've been editing my buying so I can save my money for pieces that I really want to have. Not necessarily that are crucial to have, but I would really love to have in my collection. And I couldn't pass this up. I think this whole palette design, unfortunately, is getting dirty already, but this whole palette design just screams holiday. I feel it's so stand out, and I'm not entirely sure if this is limited edition. I'm sorry if I didn't mention that in the beginning of the video, but it's kind of like, I don't even know this palette's status. I don't even know if it was supposed to be on sale. I don't know. I don't know how that will change by the time this video uploads. But as far as I'm concerned, if you don't have any Pat Mcgrath shadows, I think this is pretty nice. It's just between everyday friendly and like super glam because of the shades. I feel you can get away with these shades to be everyday looks. Maybe Lotus Luxe is like a lot, is very holiday and perhaps really good as a lower lash line pop, maybe just all over the lid with a more low-key matte, not so much smoky, but just a color to blend it out with. Moon Phase I think is so pink and light and flirty. It's really great as like a standalone lid shade, as maybe you thought. I don't know if you thought when you saw my eye looks at the beginning of this video, but I really like Moon Phase as an everyday metallic pink eye. I love it. I love Golden Opulence. I'm so happy that I bought it. Pam, thank you so much for telling me that this palette existed and explaining the means and the process by which I had to go through to buy this palette. Let me know if you happen to grab it too, friends. Again, the link will be down below. And if you do decide to get it, you try it, let me know what you think. And that, my friends, is a wrap. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope this video helped. And if you like this video, please give it a thumbs up and maybe consider subscribing to my channel. And until then, I'll see you on here again with another review, tutorial, get ready with me, or favorites list. Take care, and I'll see you again soon.